So first of all, welcome to all of you here. I hope you're having a good Sunday, uma boa segunda. And today is the Portuguese International Day, right? 5 de maio, 5th of May, is o Dia Internacional da Língua Portuguesa, Portuguese International Day. So for that reason, I thought it will be a very good day and week to do something, right? Like the Portuguese listening week, and to have, for example, this masterclass, and the one that we will also have on Saturday at 11 a.m. Lisbon time. So this masterclass, you will learn, in this masterclass, you learn a lot of things, and is the introduction to the topic, and we'll start the week the best way possible, and I will explain what is going to happen during this week, the Portuguese listening week. So why do the Portuguese speak so fast? From lost to confident, understand fast Portuguese, introducing the Portuguese listening week. And I would like you to tell me, for example, in the comments, okay, in the comments in the chat, if you can see me, if you can hear me, if everything it's fine. I have my phone here with the because I'm inside, but with another device to check if it's okay. If you see me, I hope so. All right, so let me share the screen again. We can see, yeah. Thank you, Maria Luisa, Lucia, yep, we can see you and your screen, and we can hear you. Boa, great, boa. That's what we want. Okay, back to the presentation. So for this class, it's a master class, it's a class. So I want you to have with you a pen, pencil, with a notebook, if you prefer to write your notes on your computer or on your phone, the way you prefer, but do it, and your full attention, right? Because probably you are learning something in a way that you're not used to. This is not a traditional approach, because traditionally what they focus on is on writing and reading, not on listening. And this is just about listening and all the missing pieces about Portuguese pronunciation. Of course, you may bought a book, you attend a course, and you may learn the Portuguese pronunciation. But if you feel that is not the same, the Portuguese from your textbook, from your course, is not the same Portuguese that you hear on the streets. It's not the same, and you can't understand it, then this is exactly for you. And I know that the frustration is real. The frustration, real frustration of real Portuguese. And spoken Portuguese has some particularities that make it, well, we need to address them. So what I wrote here is, most language learners experience a moment of panic when confronted with native Portuguese speech, like in the image, this drawing here. You've studied language, but when you hear it spoken naturally, everything seems to blur together into incomprehensible noise. And then we have the first topic here, subtitle, Classroom Disconnected. Because what we see in traditional courses is an idealized version of the language. Not just idealized, and of course for that reason doesn't match the real speech, but it's in a way that you will probably understand as a foreigner speaker and for a learner, especially in the basic levels, which is kind of normal and expected. Why? Because you are just starting and you need to start slow. It's okay. The problem is that it's not real and you keep on that same thing that it's artificial and slow, like forever. For example, one thing that makes it feel artificial is the speed. For example, when they speak like this, very enunciated and slow for you to understand, this is not natural, right? Speaking slow doesn't necessarily mean to speak robotic. Okay, so speaking always slowly is one thing because in real world, people speak fast. Other thing about speaking slowly is that sometimes when people speak slow, they tend to speak word by word, robotically, and I've seen teachers doing this. But in the real world, this is not happen. It's not what is happening. The problem with doing like this is when we disconnect one word for the other, you are not learning the chunks that we say, because if you already noticed, we put words together, it sounds just like one. And there's some sounds in those words that change. And if those words were pronounced separately, then this wouldn't happen. Okay? So that's the first thing here. Classroom is disconnected. That's why in my case, when someone comes to learn Portuguese with me for the first time and they are complete beginners, of course, I will tell them things like, what's your name? My name is blah, 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 these basic things. But not only I tell them, for example, como é que te chamas? Slow. Needs to be slow because beginners need to hear the sounds. Como é que te chamas? This speed. But once the student gets it, like first minutes, I tell them, oh, so this is slow. But they also say, como é que te chamas? Como é que te chamas? Como é que te chamas? And I go through the process of what is happening here, what changes from the slow version to the fast version. Okay, so right in the beginning, they start to hear the way the Portuguese actually speak fast. Okay, speed perception. Native speech feels impossibly fast because of kinetic sounds and reductions. The truth is, native speakers, no matter the language, they speak fast. It's okay. It's normal. When you are learning something new, it doesn't matter what that is. When you are doing it, you will do it always slowly, much more slowly compared to someone who has some experience. So it's normal. So not just the way you speak is going to be slow, but the way you process information. You are going to speak slowly because you're not used to it. You are new to the language, but also your speed of understanding. This is normal. This is expected. You can't expect being, for example, a basic student in anything and be able to perform like an intermediate or advanced. So this is just the logic of things. And this also applies in Portuguese, in learning Portuguese. The thing with Portuguese and the speed is that not only it's fast, like any other language, but in European Portuguese, we tend to change the sounds when we connect words. It depends on how a word ends and the next one starts, okay? And because not just the speed, but the flow, the intonation, you know, that idea that we have, that the Portuguese sing, this intonation, okay, this flow also is related to this. This is what makes some sounds being more well pronunciated, and you will hear these sounds more easily than others. Okay? And mental freezing. Your brain panics when it can't separate words, causing comprehension to shut down. And then, you know, when a TV doesn't work, like it does shh, then you put so much effort, so much energy trying to understand, especially in family gatherings, if you have Portuguese family, or if you have, family gatherings, or if your Portuguese friends invite you to a party with other Portuguese, and you look at them speaking and you try to understand, like, just so much noise, right? It's a lot of noise. If you are writing in the comments, because it's difficult to pay attention to things at the same time, but if you can write in the comment section, and then I will read your comments in the end. And of course, you can ask your questions in the chat. It's just it's difficult to listen to speak, right? Having this conversation and reading to the comments. So, and why this? Why you cannot separate words, and why are you trying to separate the words? Because the way you learned was with the words separated, everything very well enunciated. So you try to make sense of something that is similar, but is not exactly the same of what compared to what you have learned. For you, in your perspective, is very different. Okay, of course, the written language and spoken language, everything it's Portuguese, but is not transparent. And when you learn in class with textbook audio in a certain way, and it's not the real life Portuguese, then don't expect to understand the real life Portuguese, because you're learning something else that is not exactly what you want and need. This is especially complicated, let's say, because if your goals are to have a conversation with Portuguese, be able to go to a store in Portugal and you order what you want to order, and then the waiter there asks you something more specific. For example, if you order a coffee, they will ask you, how do you want your coffee? Cheio, curto, different things. And you need to understand what they are saying, right? But the mental freezing and the stress and the negative feelings that you may experience when you don't understand Portuguese and you expect to, because you have been putting the effort, you have been studying, you are committed to learn the language, is that your mindset, the way you think, is in a way that probably, right, as most of us, if you make a mistake, you kind of are bad. And you are afraid that if you don't listen, if you don't understand what they're saying, they maybe think that you are silly, that you are stupid, or something like this. A lot of people that come to me, people that are learning Portuguese, they say they are they are scared to have a conversation, not only because they are afraid of speaking and saying something wrong, but also they fear this situation where, okay, I say whatever I want to say, and then they understand, they say something to me, and I don't understand, and I can't have a conversation. And there's a lot of frustration and a lot of negative feelings that people have when they are learning a language because they feel that they need to be perfect. They want, of course, we don't want to make mistakes, but it's impossible not make mistakes if we are learning something. That's just part of the process. So when you accept that you're not perfect, you are not going to understand everything right in the beginning, you will need to manage, you need to be able to manage your stress, your confusion, everything. That's something that you can learn. But of course, if you learn how the Portuguese speak in real world, the real spoken Portuguese, you can cut a lot of stress, a lot of unnecessary stress, unnecessary frustration, unnecessary confusion. Okay, so the good news are this gap between the textbook Portuguese and the authentic speech can be breached with the right approach. Because if you think that the way the Portuguese speak is kind of weird, you already realize that they eat letters, they don't pronounce everything. It is more complicated to understand European Portuguese than Spanish or even Brazilian Portuguese. You already realize there's something going on there. Some people say that, oh, understanding European Portuguese is an impossible mission. It's not if you know how to do it, because there are certain patterns that the Portuguese use. And if you know these patterns and you train your ear with them, then you're ready. And who I am to be here, right? Why you can listen to me and say, yes, what she's saying, I can believe what she's saying. Makes sense. Well, hola, I'm Sara. My name is Sara, and I'm Portuguese. I'm Portuguese from Lisbon, and I've been teaching Portuguese, particularly European Portuguese, for 10 years. And I've been teaching people from, I really counted, literally counted, 60 countries. That's a lot of people. Of course, many people from just one country, sometimes just one person from one country, but really a lot of people in one-on-one classes and in group classes. So a lot of people. And in my case, if you think that the Portuguese are good with English, the Portuguese are good in English, they are good in languages. Well, I wasn't. And English was a nightmare to me, not because of the language itself, although it was because I was reading the textbook and I just didn't get it. This is me with the textbook. This textbook was when I was 17, 18 years old. New Arial 12. I remember this book very well, but not for the good reasons. The environment where I was in, it was an environment where every single student was very, very good. Everyone was having very good grades, except me. And on top of it, I felt that they didn't like me. They thought, she's dumb. Oh, she's stopping the class asking for something that everyone already got. And the teacher had the same attitude towards me. And well, if you want to know more about this, maybe I should do a video about it, because there were some things that happened that made me feel very small, and I was just scared of the classes, not because of English, but because of the teacher and my classmates. They weren't nice. So this. And maybe because of this, I was so into helping other people not experience the same thing that I experienced. And when I teach Portuguese, my first thing is not, the first thing that I try to understand about that person is if they are feeling, how they are feeling. What are they feeling? Confused, overwhelmed? Because I was this person because I just didn't know how to study, how I'm going to learn this. I opened the book and I just didn't know, because no one explains in school. No one did to me, oh, you have this is the explanation, and you are going to do this exercise because blah 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 blah. No one did. They just said, okay, you have this here, and this is what you need to know. You need to remember for the test. And that was it. And in this 10 years, I started to train people also to pass the CIPL exam. If you don't know what CIPL is, it's the exam that the government requires for those who want to apply for the nationality. The A2 is the basic. So the very, very basic is A1, and next one is A2. And let me show you here a little bit of Luisa, what Luisa said.
I'm Luisa Wong. I want to thank Sara Bento, who's my Portuguese teacher, for helping me to pass my A2 certification. A very important step for me in order for me to get my nationality. I have been resident of Portugal for many years, and I love Portugal. Its culture, its people, its food, its everything about Portugal. And a year ago, before November of 2024, I started learning Portuguese. And the first 6 months, it was a lot of struggle. And I met Sara in April of 2024. And for the next 6 months, she has very structured lessons for me. She made it fun. It's daunting, but she made it fun. She was patient. I was able to follow her. And every day I have 1 hour online lesson with her. And I wanted to thank her for have confidence in me. And I didn't know if I was going to pass, but I did. Thank you.
As you can see by what she said, it's not just teaching and learning, is how are we going to teach and how are we going to learn. She said that she learned in a fun way, and I believe that's a very important way to learn. And I don't know if you know, but this CIPL exam is an exam that has one part just about listening. And if you already took the exam, or if you know someone that did, you know that the listening part is the most difficult part on the exam. And as you just saw, she prepared for the exam in a short period of time, just a few months, and she was able to pass. Okay, if you do things the right way, you can achieve your results. It's not just about being fast by itself. It's to do things strategically so you can achieve your results faster. But faster doesn't mean like this or in a blink of an eye. Okay, you always need to put the work and do the step by step. Okay, everyone that took the exam and came to me said, Sara, listening is the most difficult part. And if you think that, for example, Spanish speakers have a huge advantage when it comes to learning Portuguese, yes, they do, but they don't have this advantage when it comes to listening, because the pronunciation of European Portuguese is very different from Spanish Portuguese. Okay, just for you to have an idea, even Brazilians, when they listen to European Portuguese for the first time, first 2-3 times, they don't get anything. And they are Portuguese native speakers. And they don't get anything. Can you imagine? And now you may think, oh, Sara, if not even Brazilians understand the Portuguese, how am I going to understand them? I don't know Spanish. I don't know Brazilian Portuguese. I'm just an English speaker. How am I going to understand it if I'm an English speaker? There's a way. Yes, you can. And you wouldn't be the first. Não serias o primeiro. Okay? So the people that go and take this exam, SIPO, it doesn't matter if they are Chinese or Iranian or Spanish, because I already help people from these nationalities to take the exam. They always say the same. Listening is the worst part, the most complicated thing in the exam. And because I was able to help her, not only with listening, of course, but with all the aspects, she was able to pass. And I was very proud of her. I am very proud of her. So the promise is understanding real Portuguese, because I'm telling you that is possible. Yes, you can understand real Portuguese, the Portuguese that people speak on the streets, not on a CD, okay? In this masterclass, I will reveal exactly why Portuguese sounds so impossibly fast to foreign ears, and more importantly, what you can do about it. The methods I'm about to share form the foundation of my comprehensive course, Understand the Portuguese. It's about retraining your ears to recognize the natural patterns of Portuguese as it's actually spoken in everyday situations. When you buy a course or a textbook with an audio, that audio that you have was recorded in a studio, right, with professionals, people that do that for a living. They record audios, not just for textbooks, but for commercials, etc. So a studio is like a lab. Everything is very controlled. But this scenario, this environment is very different from the real world. So that's also something that doesn't help you to train your ear, because if they are recording in the studio and there's no noise, for example, or they speak things very well enunciated, because voice is their tool of work, so they know how to use it. They're professionals. So you see, if this is very different from the real world, if you just use this kind of material, you won't be prepared for the real world. So 1, 2, 3. Here you are, struggling to understand fast, natural Portuguese despite studying the language. Maybe you have been studying for years and you still don't understand what they're saying. You still struggle and you think something like, oh, I've been doing so many things, putting so much effort for so much time. Maybe I'm not good enough in languages. Maybe I'm not very intelligent. I'm not good at this. Maybe something in me. Maybe not. Okay. Second, the method, learning the approach to train your ears for real Portuguese speech. So if you have this issue, you need to address this issue directly. Okay, this is my problem. What can I do to solve this? Okay, it's not just continue learning and learning more. You learn more grammar, more vocabulary. Okay, but let's say that you are moving to the B1 level and you are learning the subjunctive. You are learning more advanced vocabulary. But when the Portuguese speak, you can't recognize the A2 words. You can't recognize the A2 grammar. And why are you learning more grammar? It's going to happen. What do you think is going to happen? Nothing. You know the grammar, you understand it. Let's say you memorize the words, but you just can read and understand. So it's pretty much useless in a conversation. To be able to have a conversation, you have to listen and understand. If you don't understand, what are you going to say? What are you going to reply? If you don't understand, you cannot say the words that you remember, that you memorized. You cannot use the grammar that you finally understood after so much time trying to understand the grammar and so many exceptions, right? But then you learn with the right method and you get to the result, confidently understanding native speakers in natural conversations. That's our goal. The truth is, Portuguese speakers aren't actually talking faster than speakers of other languages. They're connecting and reducing words in ways you weren't trained to expect. So if you weren't trained, you won't understand, right? Logic. This isn't wrong or sloppy speech. It's the beautiful natural rhythm of authentic Portuguese. So we have this, the textbook Portuguese versus the real Portuguese. Okay, so in textbook Portuguese, words are pronounced individually and clearly. But in real Portuguese, words are connected and reduced, and we even reduce syllables. We eat letters and even we eat complete syllables, just swallow. So let's see these examples. Está bem. Está bem. Está bem means it's well, it's okay, could be all right. But with está, we actually don't pronounce that first vowel, the first letter. Está, it's not está. It could be está, just sh, and then tá, está bem, or tá bem, tá bem. And I can even say just tá, 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 tá. It is okay. Is it okay? It is tá. Just this, tá. And then you think tá is just one sound, two sounds, so short. I didn't get it. Yes, just tá. Okay, tá. And the next one. O que é que estás a fazer? O que é que estás a fazer? And we can just say, o que é que estás a fazer? The first way, the way I read it, is robotic, is not natural. If you say this way, o que é que estás a fazer? And if people that listen to you saying this way, and they think that you are a native speaker, they think that maybe you have some mental problem. If you are a foreigner and you don't say it with the rhythm and with pronunciation that a native speaker uses, well, it's normal. But if they think that you are a native speaker and you say like this, it sounds very weird. And of course, we are talking about listening, but if you listen, then your speaking skills will be so much better. So there's a lot going on here in this sentence. O que é que estás a fazer? The QU here in these two situations is how we represent the sound k. And I just changed to a K here because probably a K makes more sense than QU. Okay. And this here, K, we can just cut it. The o que é que estás a fazer? Sometimes we speak fast and we don't count the U. Sometimes we do. O que é que estás a fazer? O que é que estás a fazer? O que é que estás a fazer? Tell me in the chat if you learned this way. O que é que estás a fazer? How did you learn this sentence or a similar sentence? Did you learn o que é que estás a fazer? Or did you learn o que é que estás a fazer? que estás a fazer? O que estás a fazer? And something very particular in this question is that we have an S here, estás. But here we have a Z. So it's not estás. It's not sh. It's z. Estás a. Estás a fazer. Estás a fazer. Why do we change? Because in the flow, we put things together. So the S is between vowels, just like the word casa. We write C-A-S-A, but we say casa, not casa. Casa, not casa. Casa, right? When we have an S between vowels, it will always be pronounced Z. It doesn't matter if the next vowel is not in the same word. Casa, casa, casa. C-A-S-A. The S is between vowels in the same word. Casa. Okay, we write the S, but we pronounce Z. And these situations, every single time, when a word ends with S, and before and after we have a vowel, which is not a nasal, probably, we put together and we have the Z sound. So it's not estás a fazer, it's estás a fazer. Estás a fazer. Z, 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 z. Okay? And the next sentence, vamos a Lisboa. Do you see the S? Vamos? Vamos a. For the same reason, same logic. The S is between vowels. Vamos a. Vamos a. I pause, so no Z. Vamos a, vamos a, vamos a. S between vowels is Z. And the next word, Lisboa. Some people will pronounce with the E, but you can be 100% sure that you'll find people that they just won't pronounce the E in Lisboa. They just say Lisboa. L, Lisboa. 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 And the S. Sara, what's happening with the S? Before the S changed to Z, and now what's happening with S? Here the S changes to a J because right on the right we have a B sound. And for that reason, the S is not S, is not sh, is not Z. It is J. S is one of the letters that can have many sounds, can represent many sounds. It depends on different things. So Portuguese is not transparent. Pure transparency would be one sound is going to be represented just in one way, but it's not what happens. I saw that someone wrote here, I learned the textbook Portuguese version. In Portuguese, I would comment, pois. Pois, pois, pois. Pois is a very European Portuguese expression to agree with someone. Like, yes, yeah, of course. You see what I mean? So you learn the textbook version of Portuguese, right, Jen? So probably you struggle with understanding the Portuguese. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here because we are here to talk about this topic, right? The gap between textbook Portuguese and real Portuguese creates the illusion of speed. Your brain is searching for complete, clearly articulated words, but native speakers are delivering connected speech with reduced syllables. So I think and I feel that it's like, it's misleading. It's not fair You think that you are learning something, but you are learning something else. What do you want? You want to learn Portuguese to have conversations with the Portuguese. So you need to learn the way they speak. You think that you are learning the way they speak, but then you're not. And then you waste time, you waste money, you waste energy, you waste patience, because patience is also limited, then you get nervous, you experience negative feelings, and you end up thinking, oh, maybe it's my fault, maybe I'm not good enough. But you actually are not learning what you think you are learning. You know what I mean? So now look at these 4 pictures. Each one of them, they represent a level, a skill, actually. We have 4 different skills in language learning. 4 different skills. And this is a generalization, but after having so many students, there's a pattern that I can spot. I can see that happens. This happens with people that are learning Portuguese in general. It happened to me when I was learning in the wrong way. Okay. My English wasn't good. It's not perfect. It's not like a native, and it won't be because I'm not native. And that's okay. My goal is not to sound like a native. There's no need for that, as long as people understand me well. So we have 4 pictures here. Can you identify the 4 different levels in the language, in language learning? Let me show you the first one. Reading. Reading here, and you see, we have legal here. And this first one is very good. It's a very strong, solid construction, right? And in most of the cases, what happens with students is that they are very good at reading. Their reading skills are very good. Fantastic. Outstanding. And then we have writing. You know that the structure is not as good as the first one. So your reading is best. You read best and you understand when you read. And your reading skills are better than your writing skills. But we have other 4 skills. And your next skill is not as good as the first and second, which is speaking. Okay, speaking. You can speak, okay? According to your language level, you are speaking, and is not that bad, but it's not as good as reading and writing. And the last one, which is the way you see, right? It's not even a construction, it's just different pieces. Listening. If you ever took an exam where you have a reading part, writing part, speaking part, and listening part, and you have a score for each one of these skills, you'll see, and this happens with, for example, this happens with students of mine that they took the SIPO exam, and they have their reading part, writing part, speaking part, and listening part. What happens is this. They have the best grades on reading and writing, not so good in speaking, and then listening, it's a disaster. They don't understand anything of what they're listening to. Let me know in the comments if that's your case. Reading is good. Writing is good, but not as good as reading. Speaking, no, okay, it's okay, can get by, but compared to reading and writing, it's not that good. And then listening is a disaster. It doesn't need to be exactly a disaster, but you know that you are way better in the other skills rather than listening. If you can't understand what people are saying, the rest isn't worth much and communication goes down the drain. Because if you don't understand what people say, you cannot use wherever you already learned the words that you spend so much time trying to memorize, the grammar that you spend so much time trying to understand with all the exceptions, all of it. Okay, so if you think about how do you study, how do you practice, what do you do to learn Portuguese? Do you do more reading? Do you do more writing? Do you do more speaking? Or do you do more listening? In most cases, because most people learn based on the traditional way, they end up doing more reading and writing, which also includes grammar explanations, and they do less of speaking and listening. So tell me, if you're practicing more reading and writing, you will be better at reading and writing. What are your goals? What do you need and you want to be good at? Is firstly reading and writing or speaking and listening? If your goal is to have a conversation, why are you not focusing on speaking and listening? You're doing the other things. The other things are important. Of course they are. But speaking and listening is as well. Actually, listening is the foundation of language learning. It's the most important activity that you need to do. Not just practicing, not just to practice, but also to learn, input. You can only speak and use the language if you learn it first. You cannot say or write something that you never heard before, that you never read before. So you need to focus and really, if you need to remember something from this masterclass, really remember this. You have to listen a lot and read a lot, especially listening. You have to absorb the language. You cannot give output what you don't have. Okay, so listening and speaking. First, listening, because if you listen, then you know how to speak, right? When you learn pronunciation, let's say, could be like any way. Doesn't matter if you take a pronunciation course or you learn pronunciation inside a general Portuguese course or whatever. If you want to know how to pronunciate something, you need to listen to the native speaker pronouncing it. So listen first, very important. And now I will introduce you the power listening method. Improving your Portuguese listening skills, it's about training your brain to expect and recognize real speech patterns. Our method breaks this process into 3 distinct steps that build upon each other. A little bit of water. And the first step of this method is study. Let me close the window because of the sun. And study. Study what? The patterns. You need to learn the patterns. For example, in the previous examples, I told you that S between vowels is pronounced Z. So if a word ends with a vowel plus S and the next word starts with a vowel, then in this case, in this pattern, the S is going to change. Okay, so when, how, and why the sounds change and disappear, you need to learn this first. Then you practice. fearless listening using listening techniques. Daily exposure to authentic Portuguese for example, 15 minutes. My lessons are 15 minutes inside my Understand Portuguese course. 15, 16, maximum 20, but very short. First, it's an active listening. So you really focus and you don't do anything else when you first listen to something for the first time. And then passively, while you do other activities, house chores, for example, okay? Listening to the same thing over and over again. And the third step, it's to apply. It's putting it to practice. I used the word practice before, but it means that you go and live your life and have the conversations that you always dreamed to have in Portuguese. So this step is not studying, it's not practicing, it's just you living your life. You're not thinking, oh, let me watch this video to practice Portuguese. You can use any video that you want to practice Portuguese. But let's say that you like football, soccer, and you want to watch a video about Benfica, any soccer team in Portugal. You watch it because you enjoy the topic, not because you want to practice. You know what I mean? For example, my husband, he loves basketball. He is very proficient in English. He doesn't watch videos on YouTube about American basketball teams because he wants to improve his English. No, he's just living his life. He watches it because it's something that he likes. Okay, the goal is not to learn the language or practice the language. It's just to have fun. It's just to have fun. So live your life because you are doing all this process. You are learning Portuguese with a goal in mind, right? And you need to achieve that goal, right? To be able to have a conversation in Portuguese with a Portuguese. So you need to finally live your life in the language. That's what you want, right? So in terms of this step 1, about the patterns. Well, there's something that I call the highs and the lows. The highs and the lows. A mount and a valley. Mount and a valley. And why mount and a valley? Because in a word in Portuguese, there's always one part of it, a syllable, that is higher than the rest. And this is key to understand when we are not going to pronounce things. Okay, so in a word, we only have one high syllable and the others are low, as I just said. The low syllables are compressed or reduced to maintain the rhythm. So you see, the highest syllable, its high, is the one that is going to be very well enunciated. You will hear it, no problem. Not the others. So notice the verb that I use, hear. In English, we have these two verbs, to hear and to listen. What you want is listen and understand the Portuguese, right? But you need to be able to hear the sounds. Spoken language is basically a sequence of sounds, and we need to give meaning to those sounds, right? We give meaning to those sounds. And you need to hear, oh, is the sound, I can tell, this sequence of sounds. You may not know what they mean, for example, because you never heard that word before. But you can tell, this sound, this, and this, and this, and this. What happens with a lot of learners is the opposite. You know the words, but you can't recognize them when they listen. Okay? If you read and you understand, but when you listen, you don't understand, it means that you just recognize the word written down with those symbols. With A, with S, we write like this. But spoken language is not the same as written language. Okay, so you need to be able to hear. When you look to a text, you look at the letters, A, B, C, etc. And you see the words arranged in a certain way, you need to remember the meaning, right? You need to recognize using your vision, your eyes. In spoken language, you need to use your ear to recognize, this sound, this sound, this sound, this sound. Okay, this is the sequence of sounds. First thing. Second, what this sequence of sounds mean? So very important, hear and listen. So I have here a word, and I will give this word as an example because we have a specific sound, and probably this is the sound that we eat the most, the letter that we eat the most, which is, can you tell? This one. Perfeito. Perfeito. Can you see my mouth? I'm looking at the chat right now. Can you see my mouth? So you see how open or closed it is. Don't be shy. See? Boa. Boa. So it's The two lips are very close together. Perfeito. 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 It's down, low, and then it goes up, and then it goes down again. Because the highest syllable is the one in the middle. Fei. Perfeito. Perfeito. So because fei is higher, it's open, you can hear it, but maybe not the others. Others are low. Perfeito. And if you put this word, perfeito, you can use, for example, Google Translator. I could use, for example, my husband. He just came. He went to cut his hair. My husband, why? Because he's Brazilian. And you'll be able to, now, let me write in English, because you just heard me with my European Portuguese accent. But if I change here, Portuguese Brazilian, English, Brazilian Portuguese.
Perfeito. Perfeito.
Can you hear it?
Perfeito. 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 Perfeito.
Well, I think that my Brazilian Portuguese is it's good because I've been practicing a lot and I have a lot of input, a lot of Brazilian Portuguese input. Perfeito. Perfeito.
Perfeito.
Perfeito.
Perfeito. Perfeito. Perfeito. Perfeito.
So can you tell that is more open? You can write in chat. That's Duolingo Portuguese. Portuguese and Duolingo is Brazilian Portuguese. But you can tell that it's a little bit robotic, right? But pronunciation is the correct pronunciation. Perfeito. Perfeito.
Perfeito. Perfeito.
It's more open. Because Brazilian Portuguese is more open than European Portuguese. This is one of the differences between European Portuguese and Brazilian Portuguese. Brazilian Portuguese and European Portuguese. That's why you think, understanding Brazilian Portuguese is way easier. Yes, it is. Of course it is. Especially if your native language has the same characteristics as Brazilian Portuguese, but different from European Portuguese. So I say perfeito. Let me put the microphone here. Perfeito, 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 perfeito. And now the Google Translator.
Perfeito. Perfeito. Perfeito.
Perfeito, 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 perfeito. What changes? Perfeito. Every single syllable is opened. It's an open syllable. E, o. But in Portuguese is u, a, u. So one very useful thing for you when you speak Portuguese, European Portuguese, of course, is trying to close your mouth more. Okay, because it will sound more like European Portuguese, what we do. The same with Spanish. You want to see Spanish? I'll give you the Spanish. Do you think that Spanish speakers have a huge advantage in learning Portuguese? They do, but not in this. Not in, when it comes to pronunciation and listening, it's not. Oh, listen.
Perfecto. Perfecto. Perfecto.
We have one word here, one letter here, the C, perfecto. But can you tell that this is also open?
Perfecto. 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 Perfecto.
Perfecto.
Perfecto.
Perfecto. Perfecto. Perfecto. Opened. Perfecto. Spanish is open. Opened. But European Portuguese is closed. Perfeito, not perfeito. Perfeito, not perfeito. So this is a characteristic of European Portuguese. But as I said, it's like anything in life. Okay, and Portuguese has the specific characteristic that makes it, let's say, it had one more step when we learn, okay? Because if it's opened, it's more easy to hear. What is easier or more complicated, more difficult? It depends. For example, a lot of people, especially, let's say, not special, but for example, Americans. For Americans, Brazilian Portuguese is going to be easier in terms of pronunciation because Americans do this and they open more their mouth, like the Brazilians. And let me tell you, in terms of pronunciation, the best learners, the foreigners that speak European Portuguese the best or the better are Slavic people. For them, the European Portuguese pronunciation probably is going to be easier. So it always depends on your background. It's not that Brazilian Portuguese is better or European Portuguese is better. It's not, just different, okay? And a very interesting video, not this one.
Hi, I'm Louisa.
A very interesting video, I put it here. It's a bilingual girl. So her parents are Brazilians and she was born here in Portugal. Or she moved here when she was very young. I don't remember. But she speaks both Brazilian Portuguese and European Portuguese. And you can hear when in this video, she says the same word in one accent in European Portuguese and in Brazilian Portuguese. In this case, how the Portuguese say versus how her mother says, because her mother is Brazilian. Let's watch.
Minha filha portuguesa que fala os dois sotaques, parte 6.
Vamos lá. A palavra vai ser amor.
Amor.
E como que a mamãe diz?
Amor.
Doente.
Doente.
E como que a mamãe diz?
Doente.
Brasil.
Brasil.
E como que a mamãe diz?
Brasil.
Cenoura.
Cenoura.
E como que a mamãe diz?
Cenoura.
Cenoura.
Jornal.
Como?
Jornal.
Nossa. E como que a mamãe diz?
Jornal.
De frente.
Diferente.
Não, é de frente.
Can you tell how European Portuguese is closer, is not closer, is closed, and Brazilian Portuguese is opened? And this example is a very good example. Different. Different is good because it has a lot of But in Brazilian Portuguese, it's not
Diferente.
Isso é como a mamãe diz.
it's opened. Brazilian Portuguese.
Diferente.
Esse é difícil.
Different, 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 diferente, different, diferente.
Não é? Parece que estás a falar o quê? É o quê?
É difícil.
É difícil? E se a mamãe
difícil.
dissesse? Como é que a mamãe diz que é difícil?
Difícil.
Não, como que a mamãe diz?
Difícil.
Família.
Família.
E como que a mamãe diz?
Família.
Internet.
And she did familia. But in European Portuguese is familia, familia, going down, not
Internet.
Nossa, como é que é?
Internet.
E como que a mamãe diz?
Internet.
7 horas.
7 horas.
7 horas. Como é que a mamãe diz?
7 horas.
Verdade.
Verdade.
E como é que a mamãe diz?
Verdade.
Verdade? Creme de cabelo.
Creme de cabelo.
E como que a mamãe diz?
Creme de cabelo.
Cabeleireiro.
Cabeleireiro.
E como que a mamãe diz?
Cabeleireiro.
This last word is one of the classics that students always struggle to pronounce, cabeleireiro. And there are a lot of words that we cut there, but not in Brazilian Portuguese. Cabeleireiro. Cabeleireiro, opened. And European Portuguese is cabeleireiro. 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 So I think it really exemplifies what is going on. Right? So here we have a couple of words, and I will tell you which part of the word is higher and one is lower. We have casaco, país, divertido, independente. Again, casaco, país, divertido, independente. Can you tell which part of the word is higher? The one is lower. So the first one is casaco. The highest one is the one in the middle. Casaco. Up and down, up and down. Casaco. So the highest is the one in the middle. Now we have a combination which is very interesting because these two words mean completely different things. The only thing that makes it different is the highest part of the word. That we have two vowels, and if the highest part is the first vowel, then it means something. If the highest part of the word is the other vowel, then it means something else. So the first one is país. 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 Which vowel is higher? Yes, Karsten. Casaco. Isso mesmo. De A. Sim. De A. How about this other word? País. País. Exatamente, Jen. País. País. In país, which part is higher? E, right? E. So this is important because this changes the meaning of one word and the other. So not just sometimes, usually is one syllable versus the other, but in this case it's more than that because these words just have one syllable. But we have two vowels and one is higher than the other, and then it gives a completely different meaning to one and the other. Pais, the first one, means parents. And país means country. Okay? Pais, first one, parents. The second one, país, country. Okay? The next word is divertido. Divertido. Which one? Which part of the word is higher? Divertido. Let me talk directly to the microphone. Divertido. 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 T, right? T. T is higher. T is the part of the word that you're going to hear clearly, higher than the others. T is also strong. When one syllable is higher than the others, it doesn't necessarily mean that all the other syllables are going to be very low. It depends on each vowel. E tends to be a strong sound. E. A and let's say in Portuguese, A and E tend to be low, very low when they are not in the highest syllable. So, divertido, divertido, divertido. T is the highest. How about this long word? Independentemente. If you pay close attention to my mouth, I don't really open my mouth that much because there's a lot of very low. I tend to say that this, like, Portuguese love food so much. Like, Portuguese food is so delicious and we love to eat. And let's eat letters as well. Let's eat sounds. Let's eat and is the word, the letter, the sound that we eat the most. Okay, because we are very hungry and we just eat. So independentemente, all these words here. This one, not this one because it's nasal. Em. These three are em. And then u. T plus u, t. So it's a convention. They decided, if you want to write Portuguese, we should write this way. If they have decided, let's not write in the end, it will be the same. Okay? Because we are not pronouncing it. It's not there. Independentemente. Okay? And the highest syllable is which one? This one. Mente. Independentemente. Independentemente. Independentmente. Faster. Independentmente. So not with país and país, but with casaco, casaco, divertido, and independentemente, we can see a pattern. What is the rule for the highest syllable? Is the penultimate syllable. Mente, men, ti, sa. Okay, of course, we have exceptions. There are always exceptions. Think like this. If everything was absolutely easy, it would be just boring, right? So the penultimate syllable, according to the rule, is the highest syllable. So something very important for you to remember. Okay? And you see that in casaco, divertido, independente, we don't have any accent. We don't have any acento. We don't need, because it follows the rules, the basic rules of which syllable is higher than the others. If we needed to change, and let's say the way we pronounce that word doesn't follow this rule, it's not the penultimate syllable, probably we will need to add an accent, un acento. So when we read, you know which part of the word should be pronounced higher. Okay? So I wrote here, let me see your comments here. So when it's independent, the stress is on the dente. Exactly. Sim, Carsten. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Sim, because it's the penultimate syllable. And here you have other examples for the same situation, where is the penultimate syllable. And first I wrote here, manage your expectations. Why? Because writing is different from speaking. And you may expect that we pronounce, for example, you expect that we pronounce like Spanish. We expect that we pronounce like Brazilians, but we are not going to pronounce like them because European Portuguese is different. It's not perfeito, not going to pronounce perfeito. It's perfeito. It's lower, it's closer. So if you think that you are going to hear in certain things in a certain way, probably it's not going to happen. So I will read these words to you, normal way, not like I did a little bit before, like independentemente. So if I do this, you know. But I will just read these words, and if you need, close your eyes and listen and try to see which syllable is the highest and therefore is the one that I can clearly hear, and which ones you cannot. And it's also, if you can, if you want, you can close your eyes, but it's also useful to hear and read at the same time, so you associate the written with the speaking, because the reading and the speaking are not the same, but of course they are not completely different because it's still Portuguese, but then you learn how a sound is represented. So let's go. Okay? Comportamento. 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 Falamos. 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 Preocupado. 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 Tomate. 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 Cortina. 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 chinelos, chinelos, chinelos. Sofisticado, sofisticado, sofisticado. Is it clear for you? Now let me show you this. The highest part of the word is always the penultimate syllable. Comportamento, falamos, preocupado, tomate, cortina, chinelos, sofisticado. Sofisticado, okay? Nothing very unusual to say. Just one thing that is interesting, which is falamos. This sound, it's not a, but it's still higher. Falamos. Falamos. It's not an open sound, but it's higher than the other syllables. Falamos. 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 It could be higher. Actually, the sound could be an open sound. For that, we need an accent, acento. And if we say falamos instead of falamos, we change from the present tense to the past tense. How cool is that? Falamos, the way it is written here, it means we speak or we talk. But if we have an accent on the top, fala, instead of fala, then it means we spoke, we talked, past tense. So, what is happening this week? If you are in the WhatsApp group, you already know that I sent there how you're going to do the exercises, okay? Welcome to your Portuguese listening week. Let me open here. I hope it's not too slow, too small. And what we have here is the step-by-step on how you are going to listen. You do the exercise to train your ear. Okay, but how? So tell me if it's too small. Maybe I should, let me open the chat on this one. I have a phone here. See. So the first thing that you're going to do, oh, thank you, Jen. The first thing is you just listen. The first 2-3 times, you just listen and relax. Like no pressure, it's just you in the audio. You need to feel, oh my God, I'm going to learn. Sara told me that now is the moment that I'm going to learn exactly how I can understand. Let's do it. And don't feel stressed, anxious, nothing. Okay, just listen. Don't think, just listen, okay? If you have a transcription of the audio or the video, don't read anything yet, okay? And you just listen to it. If you don't understand, if you don't understand anything, or if you just understand a little, don't panic, okay? It's normal. Focus only on the music of Portuguese, the intonation. This thing that I just said, up and down, tomate, sofisticado. Because you now know that when we have this higher syllable and the lower syllables, you know, okay, the word, the sounds, the letters that they are going to eat, they are going to swallow, are the ones that are not in the highest syllable. So you can predict what is going to happen. Okay? Just focus on the rhythm, the melody, how it flows. Have you noticed that when someone is hungry, the flow is different, right? I'm mad, I'm going to speak like this. It's different intonation, different way. Okay? All of this gives us information when we want to understand. Okay, not just the words themselves. Okay, pay attention to this intonation in the melody. And notice how the words blend together. That's a part that we will fix later. And try to see, to see, to think, to hear. I think it was the sound, this sound, this sound, this sound. Just listen and think about the sounds. Oh, I heard this sound and this sound. Sounds, not necessarily meaning. Okay, yes, just to listen, just hear. Okay, and you can play, as I said, 3 times. If you need more, it's okay. But for the next step, you will play the audio or the video again. Your job here is to get used to the real sound of Portuguese. And especially if you are a very beginner and you're not used to listen to Portuguese, you barely know how it sounds like, really listen to something just to understand that's European Portuguese. Let's say, for example, very popular languages that you don't speak those languages, but if you listen, you can recognize, oh, I think that's Chinese. You don't know Chinese, but you have heard so many times, for example, that you know. Or for example, if you like Korean drama, you never learned Korean before, but you know exactly how it sounds like. So that's the perspective, okay? Second step, okay? Help from the text. Now read the transcript, the written version, listen again while reading, and then you start catching the words that you missed before. Look up any words you don't know. Save useful phrases, sentences, if you want to use them later. Your goal here is understand the meaning and see how written words sound completely different when spoken fast. And I add here some suggestions of translator and dictionary. This dictionary here is very, very good. Okay, European Portuguese Dictionary. So this is the second step. All right, any questions? Just on the chat, okay? Third step, decode the real spoken Portuguese. So let's go deeper. I'll help you see and hear what's really happening when Portuguese people speak. So letters will disappear, words will blend together, and sounds change. So this is the part that we are going to look at. And for this part, for each audio that you'll have a class of me explaining exactly what is going on. So this document that you have here, and I sent it right in the beginning. I sent it today, was the first thing that I sent on the WhatsApp group. This is the instructions on how to, like, step by step, how you can listen to each audio, okay? And you'll see, I will show you in a minute, the ones for audio 1. Okay? In each daily exercise, I'll show you these changes so you can start predicting them and hearing them in real conversations. This is the secret for understanding fast European Portuguese. Once you recognize these patterns, everything starts to sound clearer. If you already did today's exercise, you know that that's a chunk of information, which is, sabes como se diz? Sabes como se diz? There are different questions that we can make with sabes como se diz. Actually, sabes como? Do you know how? Do you know how? Sabes como? Sabes como? Sabes como? Como é que se diz? And if you want, let's say you have a Portuguese friend or crush, if you can have this conversation with your crush, your Portuguese crush, you have husband, wife, etc., and you want to know a word in Portuguese, you can ask como se diz, and then the word, for example, in English, como se diz bottle em português? Como é que se diz? Como é que se diz? How to say, how to say, how to say. Como se diz, como se diz, como se diz. Is this chunk, this pattern. Of course, inside this como se diz, as I explained in the lesson, we are going to remove some sounds. Como se diz, or como é que se diz. Which sounds are we going to eat? In that class, I explain exactly which sounds we eat, we don't pronounce, and or the ones that we pronounce, but soft, because they are soft, they are more complicated to hear. And once you understand this, the patterns, you understand that chunk, como é que se diz, como é que se diz, how to say. And next time someone says to you, como é que se diz, you know that como é que se diz is how to say. And in terms of speaking, if you want to say how to say como é que se diz, you know that this is the way that the Portuguese say como é que se diz, como é que se diz, como é que se diz. Fourth step. Listen again without reading. So again, detach yourself from the reading. I know that some students, they are really attached to the reading, right? But without reading, close the transcript and you just play the audio. Now that you understand what is going on, okay, with your new understanding. And you play that until you get bored, over and over and over and over and over again, okay? With time, you will have more than one audio to listen to, more things to listen to, okay? But you need to absorb, to make the language part of you, part of your subconscious mind. And for that to be part of you, and then you'll be able to understand and speak, you need to absorb. No one gives, I can give you what I don't have. So I need to have the language so I can understand it and I can speak, right? Input and then output. And while you're listening, notice how much you can catch now. How does it feel? Does it feel different? Does it feel better? Well, that's progress, okay? Repeat as many times as you want, okay? And, well, I already said it, repeat daily, small but consistent. Listen to it over and over and over again. Now that you did the part of listening, studying, you watched the video class about the first audio for today, first exercise, today first audio, and now you understand what is going on in that sentence, what she is saying, because it's a she. Now you can just listen to it passively. You are preparing breakfast, you are driving, you are exercising, you are walking your dog, something like this, and you're listening to Portuguese, to the audios, to something that you worked on. It's not vague, you know what is there, but you're practicing, you're training your ear with real life Portuguese. And these audios that I'm sending to you, these are things made for Portuguese, from Portuguese to Portuguese. This is how the Portuguese actually speak. So it's authentic content. And I have some Instagram videos very ready for you in the next 2 days. And you'll see how much can you learn from an Instagram video, Reels, right? And it's real life Portuguese. And you don't need to be intermediate or very advanced to learn with those content and understand. And then you see, oh, this is Portuguese. This is from the real world. I can learn with this. I can understand. I can practice. So that's also extremely good. Very, very nice. Okay. Don't underestimate the repetition. Okay. There's also a reason why you should use content that you like. I'm choosing audios, videos that I think they are fitable, they are good for you, whether you are beginner or intermediate. And I hope these are interesting for you at some level. And of course, that you can learn with them, right? And as I wrote here, your brain needs to hear it again and again to make it automatic. Okay, you need to get used to it. Okay, and it's just like going to the gym. You are training your ear. Any kind of training needs consistency and repetition. Okay, and bonus step, and this is called shadowing. This is a technique that a lot of people use. And notice that it's a named technique, that people gave a name to it. So it's not just something random. This is something very clear. Okay, I'm going to do shadowing. I'm not just going to listen and see what happens. No, it's with purpose. So what you do with shadowing is what, for example, in a normal class, when the teacher says, repeat after me, or when you are in mass and the preach say the prayer, and then you just repeat. Is this okay? And for example, when you find someone with a peculiar accent, don't you tend to repeat what they are saying right after? That's what you should do here, okay? So you repeat out loud and you try to copy the rhythm, the pronunciation, of course, the swallowed sounds. This helps you speak more naturally, not just understand. And when you speak, you listen, you hear what you're saying, right? And this is more listening to you, more listening practice. Your speaking is not going to be very different. You may say, I speak and I'm listening to what I'm saying. And Sara, you're saying that's a good way to have more listening input, but I'm a foreigner. I want to listen to a Portuguese native speaker. Well, when you do shadowing, you are repeating what the native speaker are saying. So you do it in the same second or next 2 seconds. So your pronunciation will be very close to the native speaker because you're listening and right after you repeat it. Okay. Something that I didn't write here, but it's actually one of the very good things for you to see progress is recording yourself. I know that a lot of people don't like to listen to themselves. You know that I have my podcast, the Portuguese podcast, and I have YouTube channel, Olá, I'm Sara, just like my Instagram, Olá, I'm Sara. And even today, it's kind of weird watching myself. But it is what it is, okay? It feels weird. There's nothing wrong with me, of course. I don't think there's something wrong. It's just weird to listen, watch yourselves. What happens when you record yourself? You record yourself today. You record yourself tomorrow. You record yourself the next day. You end up with very specific things to analyze. And when you analyze, day after day, you see the progress. And it's very important for you to get motivated, to stay motivated, to see the progress. You want to know when you achieve your results. If you are going in the right way, or I think I should do this, I was doing it, but now I see that I'm not getting the results, maybe I should change. Like a GPS, I need to redirect my focus, my energy. But to know that, you need to have data, you need to have something to analyze. So it's very useful for you to have your recordings. For example, I recorded myself doing a podcast episode for the first time. It's my first time doing a podcast episode. When I do the episode number 159, of course, that episode is going to be better. But I can't see exactly how better if I record it and then I analyze and I see the progress. Okay? Why this works? You're training your ear to handle real and fast Portuguese. You're connecting reading words to spoken sounds, which often feel completely different. Repetition makes your brain recognize word patterns, even in new audios later. Speaking out loud activates your mouth and helps you sound more natural. And remember, this is not about understanding 100% on day one. It's about training your ear so that day by day, Portuguese starts to sound clearer, and more familiar. Trust the process. Follow these steps every day this week, and you'll feel the difference. Okay? So these are the guidelines for anything that you watch, that you read. You can use this step by step. And very similar, I have basically the same thing for audio 1. But I was thinking maybe they won't memorize step by step. So it's very useful for you to have the general guidelines step by step. Okay, I understand, but I don't remember each step, which is normal, because if doing this is completely new to you, you are not going, okay, I'm doing step 3. What is step 4? So although having this is very important, I also decided to put the explanation, like the step by step, with the audios. So day 1, audio 1. For this day, it's audio, but in the other days, it's going to be a video. So this is the step by step. You have each step here. So this part, I'm not going to repeat myself. Okay, click here to listen. You have the link here, and don't go to the next step on the next page without having done the previous step. If you haven't done this, sorry, I'm going to scroll because I need to explain the whole thing. So I did this way because if you skip, maybe you're not doing the way that will give you results. Okay, do first step, then second step. Okay. The second step, you analyze what exactly is going on there. The transcription, you look at the transcription. And then decode the real spoken Portuguese. And then you watch the class about this. If you find this way, the way I wrote, like this way, weird, definitely watch the lesson. I try to represent Portuguese the way it's actually spoken using the Portuguese alphabet. But when you listen to something, let's say that you are Russian, you want to represent with the written system that is familiar to you. So you can do this way, okay? And then the rest of the steps are just what I wrote. That next is the same as the document that we just saw here, okay? What I really wanted to show you in this document with the first audio from the first day is the link for the audio and the link for the class explaining what's happening in this sentence. Okay? I hope that's clear. If you have any question, just ask, okay? Send me a message. So let's go back to our presentation. I hope, like, if you haven't done the exercise yet, you can do meanwhile. And if you're already done, then tomorrow you'll have a new audio, new thing to practice, a new exercise. And if today's exercise wasn't that clear, maybe tomorrow it will be easier to do the exercise because now you understood what to do step by step. And what I would like to show you now, if it's okay for you, is everything that you need to understand the Portuguese on the same place. And I will show you here the Understand the Portuguese course. I already did a video and I have it on my YouTube, how it is inside. And I'm going to explain what is Understand the Portuguese and what you'll find inside. You'll find everything that you can find anywhere else, because this is what will help you learn exactly what is going on. So in the listening week, I'm revealing everything about those audios, exactly what is going on there. If you want a more structured way where I analyze hundreds of hundreds of sentences, and I organize the information of vowel A, what happens, vowel E, what happens, in detail with a lot of examples, this is the course for you. So let me show you, because we have a start here. It's a normal welcome video. And here, the foundation, you have an audio to listen first. And as I just said before, you need to analyze your progress. So in the beginning of the course, you listen to the audio, you take your notes, you see how much you understand or don't. And in the end of the course, you will listen to it again and you'll see how much it has changed, how much you now understand. This is the foundation because I talk about listening versus hearing. I talked a little bit about it today as well, but here is in depth. It's very, with a lot of examples, and it's deep here, okay? And a lot of exercises for you to practice and audios to listen to. I have a class here, for example, why is understanding European Portuguese so difficult? Or why don't we write the same way we speak? I talked a little bit about this today, but I go deep here. And then in the end of each module, we have a class to say parabéns. With this completion, these complete classes, the classes about, oh, you finished the module, congratulations. That's something here that I decided to put, that it has to do with food. And I believe you're going to write, it's a surprise for you. It's something funny to do, because if we eat letters when we speak with Portuguese, let's eat food too. And that's what we do here. I do here. I don't want to explain a lot because it's a surprise for those who will watch the class. Module 2, let's set the table. Let's set the table. And to set the table, we have the letters. Here I explain what is a syllable, what is vowel, what is consonant. I know that some of you know what that is, but some others don't, right? And I explain this vocabulary that we are going to use in the next vowels. The lessons, are you hungry, high and low, higher syllable exceptions, higher syllable more examples, similar but different words. I cover about this, what I just taught you about high and low, the highest syllable, lowest syllable, in deep here. And finally, model 3, let's eat. Okay, let's eat these Portuguese letters. So I have here 4 classes just about the vowel A, 5 classes just about the vowel E, A, E, I, O, U, 2 classes about E, 5 about O, 2 about U. Don't feel overwhelmed because each lesson is very short lesson, okay? Usually they have 15 minutes, maximum 20, but they are very short, so you can take one a day and don't feel overwhelmed. But you can be sure that you learn and you learn it well, okay? So, for example, here, let me show how the classes are inside. We have the word, the sentence, with the English translation, and now this sentence. So have a look, take a look. So you can hear me. The sentence in Portuguese, then the translation. We don't cover the translation. I don't explain grammar. I don't explain vocabulary because it's just focused on the listening part, okay? The pronunciation and listening. And how are we going to eat these words, these letters? And I do the process step by step with you. We cut the E, and that's it. With E, it's simple. So it goes like this. Let me show you E because it's more interesting. E, o irmão dele é inteligente. What happens here? A similar sentence, but well, similar. I mean the audio. Slightly. I was clicking on the audio because in each lesson you have possibility to play here the audio, and you can also download anything that I have here in Portuguese. You can download, so if you don't have Wi-Fi, whatever, you can listen to it, and you can listen over again and again and again and again to these sentences. So not only you have a lot of sentences with the explanation, like detailed explanation on what's happening, how we are going to eat the letters, but you can also listen directly here in the platform, and you can download it, okay? So, o irmão dela é inteligente, and I put the sentence a couple of times, so the explanation of it, and we cut, and then we change. Basically, if you already did today's exercise, and you watched today's class, in this Portuguese listening week, it's basically the same, okay? You are going to listen and do different exercise every day during this week because it's the Portuguese listening week. And for each audio, you do the exercise and you have a video class explaining what's going on with that sentence or sentences. The same way I have it here, okay? So we end up with this last way of writing it, which is in terms of spelling, it's not correct, right? But this is how we say it. O irmão dela é inteligente. So we cut the we don't pronounce the as I explained before in the other examples. And the same goes with other sentences. The step-by-step on what's going to happen with the vowel E. Okay, we cut, we change everything. So a lot of classes here, but for example, this one is 14:52 minutes. Okay, I really don't want you to feel overwhelmed. Now this, because it's the last one of the O, is just 2 minutes. The part 4. Filho, muito obrigado também. Thank you. Parte 4. Também curtinho. Sorry, I was looking at the audio. Not the class. Next sentence. And audio here, the class here. First the class and then audio. For Let's Eat O, part 4, it's 14 minutes. Let's Eat O, part 5, 16 minutes. Next sentence. I really don't want you to feel overwhelmed with, like if it's 1 hour class, it's to have, well, in a masterclass, it needs to be this way because it's the format, but for regular classes, it's too much. Okay. So you see, I do the process, what happens, we cut it, and I pronounce the sentence sentences over and over again. The speed, the different versions of the speed. Sometimes we eat more, sometimes we eat less. And I repeat it over and over and over again. See? You see the sentence, how it changes? First, we have the sentence written down based on the spelling rules. And then cutting and changing. O autocarro atrasou-se, por isso cheguei tarde ao trabalho. O autocarro atrasou-se, por isso cheguei tarde ao trabalho. Karsten, yeah, it's okay if you have to go. Yeah, okay, just read your comment. It's okay if you have to go. I will send this masterclass. It is recording. I'm recording this masterclass. So because I'm recording, and then I will send you, and you'll be able to watch the rest. Okay. So maybe I should end soon. Okay. I won't explain much more here, but you can check the video of mine. I send it on our WhatsApp group, and it's on my YouTube channel. Olá, I'm Sara is a very recent video. I explain exactly what I have inside. So model 3, it's about the consonants. You see on the left, L, two classes about L. What happens with L? L changes to about R. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 classes about S. There's a lot going on with S. A class just with para, just about para, and then a bunch of classes about questions. This question expressions, como é que, porque é que, quando é que, quanto é que, qual é que, these expressions that we eat a lot because we have a lot of okay. So I created this course because everyone, students of mine and people in general, came to me and said that they don't understand when the Portuguese speak. They said that they have been learning Portuguese for a long time. They study, they do everything, but they feel very unmotivated because they still can't understand Portuguese, and they can't have a life in Portugal because they don't understand. You may learn grammar, you learn vocabulary, you do everything, and then you get frustrated because you don't achieve your goals. And I personally think that's just unfair. It's really, 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 really unfair that you are really committed. You do everything to be able to have a conversation in Portuguese, and you end up not being able to do that. Okay. And that's why I created this course. You have here everything, plus exercises like the ones in this Portuguese listening week. Okay. And the price of this course is 297. The normal price is 397 because you are here is Portuguese Language International Day. It's the Portuguese Listening Week. It's very special. So instead of 397, 297. The early bird ended yesterday. It was 197. It was way less. And the ones who took the opportunity, they are going to have everything for 197. But 297 is better than 397, right? So you for this price you have to complete course, okay, for 1 year, and you have an inaugural group lesson. Everything that joined the group, that joined the course together. So I will explain further things, and you can send me your questions. Students, I will send a Google form so you write your questions about the course, about what you have been learning, and I will answer your questions in a Zoom session live. It's like a class. okay, like a group class, to answer your questions live. You can write in the Google form that I will send to you those questions, or you ask me directly live, okay? For the first 10 that joined the course today, it's included one private lesson at a time to be agreed. You tell me when you can, and we schedule, okay? And you also have the chance to purchase the course and have the 7-day trial, which is very good. And you can pay up to 5 times, okay? And so if you can't, 297, one payment of 297, you have the possibility of a 5-time payment. You can pay with credit card, with PayPal. We have some options there, and I will show you how is show you that you have. Let me go here. I have all the links here. Here, this link. Of course, I have a sales page. I introduced the course here. You have more information here. I will also send the link in the course, the link in the WhatsApp group. Okay, you will be able to read carefully. It's a self-paced course, 1-year access. It's organized in a way that you won't feel overwhelmed. You have a masterclass, understand Portuguese. You also receive there inside this masterclass and the one on Saturday. You have here, this video is the video where I show you inside the course, a little bit about me and questions that you may have about the course. Okay, so information about the course. And here you go, you write your name, last name, your email. If you are a student of mine, you have a discount here to apply. Your information. You can also purchase this conversation guide here. And you see here you have 1-time payment, or 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times the value here. Okay, and in any of this you have free for 7 days, 3-day trial. Okay, you fill in the blanks and you click here. Okay, this is how it is inside. Any question that you may have about the course, about the Portuguese Listening Week, feel free to send me a message on WhatsApp, or on Instagram even. Maybe you say, that sounds very good, Sara. Understand the Portuguese. It seems to have everything in order to really understand what's going on with spoken Portuguese, how they eat letters. You already explained about the higher syllable and the lower syllable, but I still don't know if it's good for me, for my situation. Then you can send me a message. You explain what your situation, and I will guide you for free, consultants for free, to tell me, oh, Sara, this is this, and I will tell you what is better for you. Maybe if this is not the case, if it's not the good fit for you, maybe something else. Maybe you just need, maybe the best thing for you now is just my conversation guide. If that's the case, then I will suggest that. If it's something else, then I will suggest something else. And I won't suggest something just for you to buy from me, for a very simple reason. Your results are my results. If you don't have results, I don't have results. So I'm very interested in you to have results. Okay. That's very simple. If I recommend something for you to buy from me and then you don't have results, then like as a teacher, what I'm going to do next? If my students don't have results as a teacher, how can I continue to teach? If in the end I don't have proofs that my method works, right? So I really want you to have the results, and this is my purpose. I teach Portuguese because I want to help you achieve your goals. If it's just for the money, it's not fulfilling. Maybe you know what I'm talking about because of your experience in life. And maybe you are a very clever, a very wise person, and you already realize that just money is not enough. And especially when we are working online, like I am, you know, if in the offline world, if a business doesn't work in a town, the person could move to another town, and in this other town, they wouldn't know about this person. So the person would start from zero. No problem with the reputation. But when something is online, I have YouTube, I have Instagram, I have podcast. When something is online, it's online forever. And of course, I don't want to screw my reputation, right? And I feel so fulfilled when I see my students having results. It gives sense, it gives purpose, okay? So if you just don't know what to do, if you don't know what is the right path, the right approach to you, you come to me, you tell me your situation, and I will guide you the best way I can as a teacher, as a human being, and I will use all my knowledge and all my wisdom, everything that I have to guide you the best way possible. Okay? And here I want to show you this here. Who is this for? You may think that this maybe is too advanced or too basic. Well, this is for intermediate and advanced learners who struggle with native speakers. So you may have a certificate and it says that you are B2, B1, B2, whatever. But when it comes to the real life, like the serious thing, when you really need to use Portuguese and you want to have a conversation with the Portuguese, if they speak way too fast and you don't understand them, if you read and you understand, but if they say things and you don't understand, then it's the right course for you. This is also for beginners who want to avoid all the frustration, stress, and confusion that more advanced students experience. Okay, as I said, you have the Portuguese sentence and translation below. I explain in English and I pronounce the sentence in Portuguese. So you will learn and you will understand this thing of pronunciation and swallowing words, but not the grammar thing and the vocabulary thing, okay? If you want to go deeper, you need something else, okay? So not absolute beginners, but beginners that already realize that Portuguese in the real world is different from your textbook, from your course, and the beginners who already realize how important it is to learn this speaking patterns, and how important it is to train your ear, okay? This is also for people, expats preparing to move to Portugal. Maybe you are already in Portugal. It's for you as well. And also, if you are learning to work, you need to understand your colleagues, your classmates. Maybe you are a student at university, for example, and clients. This is also for you. Okay, anyone that needs to understand Portuguese, spoken European Portuguese, this is for you. And anyone preparing for the A2 exam. A2 or B1, B2, because all of these exams, the proficient exams, they have a listening part. And as I said during this masterclass, the listening part in this proficient exams, during the SIPO, the most difficult part is listening. It doesn't matter where the student is from, the ones that are prepared to take the exam, they always say that the listening part is difficult. Doesn't matter if they are English speakers, Russian speakers, Arabic speakers, Chinese speakers, Spanish speakers. I always say that listening is the most difficult thing. And it makes total sense because in the traditional way, listening is the thing that you practice less. Not only you don't practice it as you should, the amount of time that you should, but if you practice listening, you listen to the like this beautiful Portuguese textbook Portuguese where they speak slow, very enunciated, because they recorded in the studio. Is not something from real life. You know what I mean? So this is for you if you are in one of these situations. And you may think, oh, should I invest this amount of money in this course? Well, how much does a private lesson cost? I don't know if you know, but a good teacher, as we say in Portuguese, professor que se preze, with a minimum of dignity, a teacher that knows what he's doing, it will be between 25 and 35 euros. Like good teacher, a good class, scheduled and personalized for you because it's a private lesson. Okay, 25 to 35. Just for you to have an idea, when I was working in a language school in the center of Lisbon, the private classes were 35 in the school and 30 if the class was online. One class, okay, 30 euros, private class online, and the other classes like in person, physically in the like the teacher and the student in the classroom as traditional, how it is traditionally, 35 euros per hour, okay? So think, if you take 1 hour class for, let's say, 35 euros a month, 35 euros per class, and you have one class once a week. Per month, you have 4 hours, 140 euros. Do you think this is cheap or expensive? It depends, right? And when I was working in this language school, the group courses were 400 euros for 40 hours. 40 hours, 400 euros. And one course will be, for example, just A1. A1, 1 month, 40 hours, 400 euros. Next course, A2, another 14 hours, another 400 euros. So in 2 months, 800 euros. That's money, I think, okay? And you end up, and it's in the traditional way, and you don't necessarily, you want to learn what is in this course. When I was, and you can, if you have your phone, you can scan the QR code, and you'll be able to see the page to join the course, okay? And I can tell you, when I was in this language school, we didn't teach what I just taught you here. No. We, as teachers, had some flexibility to teach on our style, do some things. But of course, if we are in a language school, there are some guidelines that we need to follow. And there's a textbook that we need to follow. And for example, when it comes to pronunciation, the way, well, yes, I will still share the screen because of the QR code. And in terms of pronunciation, we used to use just words, isolated words, to teach pronunciation. So that thing that I said during this masterclass about if a word ends with S and the next word starts with a vowel and that S is between vowels, the sound will change. These kind of things I didn't teach when I was there, and no one teach there. Like, we needed to follow their way, kind of say, of teaching, because they have a textbook and we should follow. We have some flexibility, but we can't do something very different. Okay, so I tried to add something, but that wasn't enough. The best option is to have a course where you learn exactly this. So nothing about letters that we swallow, nothing about letters that change when we connect with another word, with another letter, nothing like this. And when it came to listening exercises, was basically, we have this audio, we have this video, you listen 3 times, and then you do a true or false exercise. Just like this, true or false exercise. And in every single level, it was this kind of exercise. What I struggled a lot while I was teaching there is that we, for example, a student was to come and the student is B1. We are doing grammar exercises, reading exercises, everything's fine. And the student learns everything normal. But it was difficult for me because when we did listening exercises, the students just said, I don't understand anything. This means that video and audio should be in a different level, because although they were B1 in every single thing, they were intermediate in reading, in writing, in grammar. They had a lot of very good vocabulary, but in listening, they were A1 or A2. So I needed to use a certain audio, a certain video that wasn't a good fit for them, because what happens is, if for those that learn and they're in their journey and they always learn the traditional way, is that they evolve, right? They learn, they go from basic to intermediate, etc. They do all the process and they do learn, they do know Portuguese. But the listening, as we say in Portuguese, is in the scales. Está nas couves. When something is with the scales or in the scales, it means that it's not good. So the students spend months learning Portuguese. They go from A1 to A2, A2.1, A2.2, B1.1, B1.2, B2, B2.1, B2.2. They spend all this time, months, and they still can't understand what the Portuguese say in the real world. And what does this mean? It means that they can't have a conversation. It means that they can't achieve their goals. They can't do what they want to do. Because listening is the pillar, is the, I don't know exactly say that word in English, is the key, is the most important thing in language learning is listening. Okay? If you don't listen, if you can't understand what the other people are saying, you can't say anything back to them. If you don't understand and you can't say anything, how are you going to use the vocabulary that you know? How are you going to use the grammar that you finally understood? You won't. It's kind of useless. I always remember the student of mine when I was in this language school. He just moved to Portugal. He studied back in the US because he's American. He studied and he was B1. He took a test and he was B1. And I was told, oh, Sara, you have the student, he's B1, like this, no, he's American. And I said, okay. When we first met, although I knew he was from the US, because it was our first interaction, I asked, de onde és? De onde és? Where are you from? And he didn't get it. How come a B1 student, intermediate student, not understand one of the first sentences that you learn? In the first lesson, your first class of Portuguese, it's this question, where are you from, is one of the very basic first things that you learn. Where are you from? De onde és? And he have been studying and learning for months. And I asked him, where are you from? And it's like, okay, podia repetir? Can you repeat? I imagine that is frustrating for learners, and it's frustrating for me as well. So that's why I spent months doing this course that has everything they need to finally understand Portuguese. Doesn't matter if they speak fast, if they swallow letters, if they don't speak what is considered the correct Portuguese or the beautiful Portuguese, the one that is well enunciated and pronounced. Okay, so you can scan the QR code, and I will also send the link in our WhatsApp group, so you can, what is it? Here, you can have a look at this, you can read, you can send me a message if you're not sure if it's the right thing for you. This video here, I show you in detail how it's inside. I explain more here. This part I'm explaining about the masterclass. Okay, in my studio is different from this where I am now. And everything here. Okay, so you can buy, and you know what you're buying, and you know that this is the right direction for you. Okay, this is the missing piece in your Portuguese journey. Well, I think I'm not missing anything. I have been speaking for some time, right? And remember that tomorrow we will have another exercise, a new audio, which follows these steps that you have here, like today's audio. All right, and let me know in the group if you have any question. Let me see if before we end the chat. Okay, Creston says, great, thanks again. Boa noite. Boa noite também, if you are listening, if you're watching the recording class. Okay. So remember today, if you purchase today for the one for you ready to start learning with the whole method, as it's here. This power listening method, I call it, I didn't mention, but I call it the power listening method, which is the method SPA, study, practice, and apply. Study, practice, and apply is the power listening method. If you want to start right now, and if you want to have this, where is it? This one private lesson with me, okay? Join today, okay? One private lesson with me as a bonus just today for the first 10, okay? So, interromper compartilhamento. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in the group. Okay? Ciao, ciao.